Evening on Beulah's porch, out at the first stall, talking, stargazing. I mentioned the radio astronomers, how they listen to the faintest signals from the earliest moment, creation itself a tremor, still rippling through us, echoing from behind this vault, tolling from our tallest belfry. Slow waves from the beginning of time, redshifts, disks in the desert, cosmos on TV, pulsars, red giants, black holes. How the sky may be all riddled, time punctured like a mountainside, with these dark tunnels and caves through, wells down to other skies, times, universes, universes within universes. If, say, you could only go far enough, if you could bore some time well into the briefest chi in the skies of an atom, in the stains of that mosquito on Hannah's paw, if it went on forever, would you come back to this? Mesons, mosquitoes, red giants, lightning bugs, supernovas, poets talking to potters on a doorstep. But is all this vastness only an atom in a speck of dried blood, a mote of dust floating in a sunshaft, in another, and another, and all our art and joy a vibration only, a tremor? I open my arms, making circles within circles, standing at the foot of the steps, eye level with sleeping Hannah. Beulah's hunkered down on the porch above me, her face clouded over, brooding, thoughtful. Time passes, the clouds disperse, thoughts animate her face. With one continuous motion, she's on her feet, uplifted by an image. Yes, when I think of God, just standing there at the first, in the dark, scattering the stars out from him for his own delight, spraying them, sprinkling them, pitching them out from himself like sparklers. She holds the spur in her lips suppressed, with the long S starting breath, her hands at her throats like buds, which open with painful slowness on wrinkling. Not catching them back, see? Letting them go, releasing them, tossing them out and out, watching them go far and wide, before ever anything was. Raising one calloused hand, she describes a circle with a spraying, scattering motion, and rubs it on the air, repeating it, reaching farther with the words, and wide. Ineffably, like a timid wave, a child's eraser over slate, effacing as she makes her mark, in deference to the awesome motion which hers must shadow, and the power and truth of the words which she has spoken, held over in their ring of mountains, toward the mountain night. It's this black hole, Beulah says. Maybe how the spirits leave this life. Maybe that's their way back to the world which they knew once before and forgot. And yet they're aimed back there. though the memories burned out of them before they're born. When my mother died, I seemed to see this cloud of vapor just overhead. I tried to paint it once, and this sweat on her forehead, like the start of the vapor trail, this death sweat, this death dew on her face, I touched with my lips. It was thin, filmy like, not like other sweat, not salty, thick like. I kept putting my lips to her forehead, her eyelids, lips, and this dew would cling to my lips too. So she knew I was with her, and she wanted me there. She was glad. I knew. In my fingers, I could feel her fingers' pressure. They'd press mine and let go, press and let go. But each time, weaker. She was going slowly. Then her fingers felt like there was nothing in them. But it wasn't painful. It was a release, see? Like an escape. Clay opening out and the spirit going up through that path of vapor. Up through that black hole, maybe. I wouldn't mind leaving. I wouldn't mind at all. If it wasn't for my family. It wouldn't be hard. It'd be like a little bird. Beulah cups her hands, her fingertips pointed up toward the thickening stars. She makes a crack in them, widens it slowly. Be like a bird, a little chick cracking out of her shell. I once wrote a story about 3 people. A young girl, a private, and an officer who met one evening in an unfamiliar city and began to walk together. Each night they walked farther. The officer off duty in the evening was dressed in light summer clothes. The girl wore the starched white uniform of a waitress. The private was in uniform also, like hers, pressed severely, with a prominent name tag, Ransom. Close by, to the north of the city, lay a military reservation. As they walked, they'd hear the pounding of artillery, the scream of planes landing, the patter of automatic weapons fire from night vision fields. And they would feel the vibrations in the pavement of explosions farther to the north, which they could not identify. The three people rarely spoke to each other, but after many nights their path led out of the city to a low place where there was a pool where they bathed together. The girl was bound to the soldier Ransom in ways the officer never understood, but he did know that they, the two strangers with whom he had spent in silence so many evenings, and with whom he had removed the clothing in which he was disguised, were from the mountains. They were mountain people. In time there was a funeral in the mountains, overseen by the officer in uniform, in which a soldier was buried. Ransom participated in the ceremony and recognized the officer as such for the first time. Now, I had myself been an officer, and I came to realize years later that this strange couple, or couple of strangers, remembered and foreshadowed my life. Not only were they figures for the parents of my childhood, but they presaged my deepest friendships, which would come later. In more than one sense, I followed them back into the mountains, where I built a cabin and found them again in my friends in Hewley and Georgia, Philo and Beulah. A long time ago, before my mountain time, traveling, I would have dreams which would contain colors which would develop as in a dark room. And the longer they steeped there, the greater the saturation, until the beauty or the fear would wake me. Often the colors would be of catastrophe. The dream would be cut off before the end. Later, years later, I began to dream in words, and the words would wake me for the same reason. There was the same sense of passing over, of transgressing a threshold, beyond which the meaning or the beauty or both would become unbearable, as in a nightmare from which you must wake at the moment of death, the moment of crossing over into the place where you can go no farther. Slowly through years, I learned to remember. I'd write the phrase down as soon as it woke me, and, without thinking about it, fall asleep again. Later I'd wake again, write down another phrase, and so on. But without being conscious of any connection between the phrases. In the morning, on my bedside table, there'd be a couple of sheets, maybe 3 or 4, covered with sparse scrawl. Sometimes I couldn't read them. Sometimes the words would mean nothing, evoke no memory. Even if I could read them, they'd feel foreign, sent like a cablegram from across the ocean. Then I'd go to my desk and begin to type, to tap my sounds, the ones I could read. Most strange to me, most inexplicable, was the connection between the phrases, separated by long intervals of sleep. Strange, too, the rich meanings which a single word could radiate, like sunrise through the opalescent mist, divided by the tall oaks in the ravine below my cabin at dawn. The dream words taught me this, that the connection between the phrases, separated by the dark interval of sleep, may involve more than one of the radii in that radiance of sense, as points of departure for the transition, the leap of sleep and of the sleeper through the dark. The basic unit, the given, presented by the dream, was no longer the single word, but these manifold, many-directioned, melodic phrases, which were the gifts of sleep. They were also its products, sleep put to work, because years of preparation lay behind this work, of finding the lower level, the caves beneath the garden, the S-bahns beneath the Stadtmitte, the hollow beneath the mountain rim at dawn. But I still compose like this. I work these seed phrases, these givens, into my rougher, less gifted ones, and then purge and amplify, building slowly. The first given melodic phrases are indivisible. They resist dissolution. They resist our other tendencies to come apart. They're given a certain shape that's recognizable, imbued with memory, like my father's words by the lake in the poem A Memoir, which came to him whole. The bond between the words is this integrity, this resistance, this réseau de résistance, pervasive, subversive, integrated, whole, manifold, intact, whose signature is the melody of the voice in its road, heard only there, in the midst of passing, in and through its transience, through the passages it makes. Credo, then. In this way, beings who search for essences, for the transient integrities, to remember across the life, in words, tones, lives, those trains which express their deepest passions, may contribute to another memory, vastly more whole. If God is recollection, as Whitehead said, then the dream beneath these words is an exercise in memory. in that memory which moves beneath my knowledge, beyond my control, on that wider floor where more has fallen and been memorized, secreted, cached, than I could know. But certain labors in that floor, in which I participated, pooled certain deposits, certain times, translated memory into words, words into phrases, and then came out with them, made them one utterance, embedded in that floor, charged with that characteristic melody which was their signature, not mine only, with that radiance of sense, those mysterious lines of continuity, of memory, of meaning, of word upon word, that train of thought ever lengthening between the fragmentary word clusters through the dark intervals of sleep, the broken signature and trace, the sign of the unknown one or ones beneath my hand, on the wide floor under all the rooms, on that level where my strangers descended to bathe in the pool beneath the city. There was a happiness here, and a rightness, a match for him in the disk floating down in the air. A small happiness, but intact. And I saw him reach out hungrily and take it in. And because he kept reaching, I kept reaching after him, till both of us were caught in the spell of the game, and in its deceptions, in its fantastic suspension of other processes, including Alzheimer's, in its obsessive image, its recurrent dream of recovery, an old play acted here for the 1000th time, till his loss seemed almost redeemable in that recovery, in his repeated finding of that face, his finding it again, his recognition, his remembering having found it before, a few moments ago. In the awareness through those few moments, a distance like centuries, that the face is his, or used to be, that the face is ours, because his loss was also my loss, and even my mistake. Since I'd thrown it wild, it was lost to us, and he found it for me also. This stranger he no longer is, whose gifts he no longer possesses, yet identifies with and is bound to, and playfully retrieves and raises again, and enjoys now sharing with me as he stoops and picks it up from its trap in the grass and sends it whirling in air back into the game again with its continuity, its memory. In the retrieval also of the words that come from there, spoken as that fellow would have spoken them years ago. Are we lost or found here? I wonder as I laugh and lunge and make my stab and stoop to retrieve it or him, myself, in finding himself lost, in finding the words for this, or the words finding him, my conjurer. As he went under, did he even rise on the remorseless surge of his affliction, using even dissolution, even the burning neurons, to strip back the words and bear them? Because he was able to tell, to find through the saying that he was lost, though he was lost indeed. I do not know. Yet slowly I begin to capture the drift of his purpose, to catch the brief words in their strangeness, their accuracy, their stripped, bare, swallow-boned reach into that vanishing landscape, from which they floated lighter than air, effortless, self-born, gliding towards me like gossamer condors from his roofless ministry, over the cratered empire of his mind in its moon bareness, out of his absence, his impasse, destruction, remote, inaccessible to me, removed now even from his own grasp, except in this way. One morning, me and Flo was down in the garden, and a raven come out of nowhere. Beulah's working on the throat of her raven at her low table under the poplar. Flew right toward us, talking like, scolding. Asked Flo, corpse, corpse. I seen him again this morning. Seemed like he stopped by just to let me look at him. He don't come along so often as a crow. I've been trying to get him finished, but Clarice wouldn't let me. Just fussing as usual. I thought maybe she wouldn't do it again. I was putting a whistle in him. I was trying to get that throaty call in him. I'd set him up there, and I was studying him. And Clarice called fussing. She was keeping me from working. I was trying to make the whistle throaty. I didn't think she'd do it again. I didn't think she'd do it today. Corpse, 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 repeats Beulah, absorbed as she probes deeper down the throat with her toothpick. I want to remember it. I want to let it blow all the way through his body. I can't get it though, just like I hear him. But I keep trying, you see, experimenting with it. It helps my mind. I got some closer, a little closer. It'll help me do my bird plaque anyhow. I've still got to get some feathers on him. If I don't like 'em, I'll take 'em off. I seen him again this morning. I was right here, and I looked up, and here goes the raven. He flew into one of them maples in between the two pines, and he perched there, just to let me see him, it seemed like. Well, take a look himself. Is that me? Beulah laughs hoarsely as she works on, dampening her fingertips in water in her cracked coffee cup. But when a raven comes over, it's a sadness like. But he didn't call. He just perched there. He didn't make a sound. The day before Luther died, he got up in a tree around the well there. He just sat there and called and called. Corpse, corpse. I tried to get to him, to see him up close, but he kept moving. He wouldn't sit still, but he called. She picks at his throat patiently with her toothpick, then brushes it carefully with her toothbrush. Corpse, corpse. Like he was talking to me, like he had a message for me. She dabs at the brush marks with the brush repeatedly. Corpse, corpse. He called and he called. Then I seen him going away. She smooths his throat tenderly with her fingertip and raises her hand toward the sky. I felt so bad that day. I reckon I got to studying from the beginning of time, how all life got started. I had a sad feeling. Everything slowed way down, just like I was feeling a little while ago with all your questions, Jack. I just dropped my head this way. Beulah leans way over, her head between her knees, and for a moment her forehead almost touches the floor. but not so much to show me, to illustrate her thought, as from necessity. Her mood is so heavy today that the movement, so radical and yet unforced, seems to come from the center of her body, to volunteer, as if slowly the weight, the gravity, masters her, and she submits. As it draws her head down, she succumbs. She draws her head down. Not just from my questioning, that too, but from all flows trouble, and her own, Sadie's, Lorna's, Clyde's. Old Satan showed him the new Adam. I could see these depths with all this coiling, these streams of people. Beulah twists her hands into a spiral that rises slowly from the level of her chest over her head. Just depths out there, and I was looking down at these things coming from here, studying why we were put here, and what was the purpose of this, and such a flow of misery from such a beautiful place. Once it was paradise. He lost it. We started out in a straight line, and then it was a coiling, till it was one huge person a face, and all these others, they were flowing like they was in vapor or water or some huge flowing thing. And now I wonder if I could still see it. I'm trying to see it now. That the Word of God is ignored. I can visualize it, but still, I can't get it with the depths like I saw it then. And I think I should try it. When all at once it's then, it'll trail from thought then. Something like I'm thinking, sad, slow-like. Then it'll come from that. The picture will pop out like a dream. Ephesians. Oh, because fear hath torment. You think of Eden and all that come from that, from two people. There was such a flow there then. Trouble didn't exist. Tears. Don't do it, Mammy. The devil transforms. Then it seemed like a dam broke, whirling and cutting its way through. Down, down. Into an angel of life, Flo cries. But Beulah's excitement increases, gaining momentum, headlong down from that moment. Down, down, she continues. Adam had dominion. Maybe that's why people don't want to believe in the Bible. They don't think that could possibly have happened. These scientists that watch the stars, I believe they'll report it. He lost it at the fall. Look away. Look away. Flo sings. And they rest not day or night. It'll be a small light first, like one they never saw. Little children. Then it'll get slowly bigger, nearer. Little children, it is the last time.
blessing and glory. Neither shall there be any more pain. Flo's right. This Jerusalem won't be found. It'll come from where it is. All eyes will see. Behold, the tabernacle of God. This is the rapture Flo sings. That light will shine on the... Behold, Mammy, this new Jerusalem will take away the light of the sun, because it will pale. Again the long vowel, after the plosive, as period to the thought. Beulah's honed and whetted, pale, slicing through the air and searching into it, into the silence which closes after it. Oh, when I reach my home, I was sitting here like this. Beulah is bowed far over, her head in her hands, elbows on knees, eyes toward the floor. And then it come to me. It come upon me like, prepared as a bride. These people, when they first started out, there was a Russian. Beulah raises her right hand suddenly with the swift word, Russian, and glides it steeply down along the sunshaft, slanting onto the linoleum from the top of the window. Out of the great tribulation. Down, down glides the hand, but her left receives it, cushions it at the bottom of the slide, breaks, nestles it, where thousands of tiny motes hang between sofa and recliner. If we are lost, we shall stand at the great white throne. Then there was a swirling, Beulah hisses, swirling, as she slips one hand from its nest in the other and revolves it, circling the nest, drawing the hand out, mill-like, swirling into the motion it describes. Till they took up the depths. That's what come to me. Finally, and at last, it was fixed. She points to a place between her knees. And their eyes were opened, and it was looking up at me. But yet, it was made up of all of them, all these bodies at least. They were fixed there. But it wasn't my idea. Oh no, not at all. I've thought about it. It come to me like, before I could get to it. They'd all make it up, because it was looking. It was already looking up at me. He come to Eve. But yet, I'd been thinking about it a long time before it come to me. All the sorrow and all the tears that's come from two people making one mistake. Now Philo, he don't think that. He don't think Jesus come here and was born of the Virgin Mary. He wants to leave that out. He wants to put in that people are born again, as spirits or as animals, as plants even, according to how they live. He has life going on and on that way. You might have been an angel, or you might be one yet. You might be a dog, or a coon, or a fish next time. You might have been a shellfish way back there, or up ahead, another person, a meaner person, or maybe a little better. I sense that Beulah is still turning these ideas over in her mind, with a certain fascination, even wonderment, and with a good deal more respect than she usually gives to Philo.